667.
Tonight with Lester on Cape Talk.
Now, Nazareen Ebrahim is the CEO of Socially Acceptable, a media and communications company, and she'll be joining us regularly to talk about all things tech and social media related. And they've recently released a 12-part series on artificial intelligence and how it will change the world as we know it and how it will change your life as a South African. Nazareen joins us now on the line from Johannesburg. Nazareen, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you, Lester. Thank you for the opportunity. It's lovely to talk to you.
No, it's great. I've been following some of your articles that you have on your Facebook page, Socially Acceptable. And there's fascinating articles regarding just what the future means for artificial intelligence. But for the layman, what exactly is artificial intelligence? It's not like the movies, is it? Where we have, I think it was the actor Haley Joel Osment, who was a little boy who was actually a robot and then grew to have human feelings and emotions and dimensions. Just exactly what is artificial intelligence?
So it's a great way to start the discussion. And we can look at some global definitions of artificial intelligence as a basis of understanding its history. So let's look at androidpit.com. They talk about artificial intelligence as, generally speaking, the term used to describe systems whose objective is to use machines to emulate and simulate human intelligence and the corresponding behavior. So it's essentially the development of computer systems that will attempt to mimic the behavior of human intelligence or solve cognitive problems commonly associated with human intelligence, such as learning, problem solving, and pattern recognition. And that's partly a definition that's coming from Amazon.com, of course.
And this is
what products they have.
Obviously using very complicated algorithms and computer language to try and mimic. But in how is it affecting our daily lives? Already when we use our smartphones and we use apps like Uber or Uber Eats or whatever, it's already using some functionality of artificial intelligence to not necessarily think, but to predict what we want as consumers, as people using technology to better our lives, to predict what we would want or what we would prefer.
But exactly as you said it, Lester. So from chatbots to opinion analysis, search algorithms, imagine you go onto Google and you immediately begin typing into the search box, and it predicts what you could possibly be searching for because a number of results will come up. That's AI in living form in your life already. Word processing, digital experiences that are determined by a machine. So exactly as you've explained it, AI is working for us already. If not in our jobs, then in our daily lives through our consumer experience, be it through a shopping app, predicting what you would like, scanning your face to unlock your phone, being able to listen to your voice through voice recognition tools like Alexa, which I'm not sure how many people in South Africa use, but is massively used abroad, including voice assistants like what we have, which is Bixby and Siri.
And already on applications on our phone, like Google Maps, as you said, I think a traffic app like Waze that tries and find the best route home, and it uses these algorithms. We're speaking to Nazareen Ebrahim, who is from a CEO of Socially Acceptable, a media and communications company, and she's talking all things tech and social media. Now, Nazareen, as you said, it's already being used by particularly customer relations interface. And I see some of the banks now have these automated chats. How often are you actually talking to a real person, or are you talking to a robot, so to speak, that are sort of predicting and troubleshooting what information you like based on the words that you are inputting into that chat?
So this is a great question. I think people haven't yet fully grasped or realized how intrinsic AI has become in the banking system through finance. And I had a gentleman ask me yesterday who's a chartered accountant, and he couldn't really believe that AI was going to infiltrate the job scene and maybe remove what you call typically higher thinking or critical thinking jobs in the finance sector. But if you look at bank tellers as an example, or a chatbot online, and a chatbot is a really simple way of understanding how AI is at work when you're communicating with someone online particularly, or you go to the ATM and you're being asked a number of questions that will produce an answer based on what you are able to do or recommend something for you. So let's look at Pepper as an example. She's one of the big four banks in South Africa, currently uses Pepper, which is a robot from SoftBank Technologies that enables a nice consumer interaction. You can ask her a question. Based on the keywords she picks up from your voice, she will present a number of options that could potentially suit your answers or what it is you require, a bank loan, maybe extra credit, you want overdraft on your business account, those kind of things.
But before we talk about the impact that it has on the workspace and what impact this could have on employment and jobs, surely there are some things that require that emotional human interaction, like, for example, applying for a loan. Sometimes it's you're going to have to go face to face to someone to explain a very intricate, maybe personal situation, which you just can't seem to do when you're talking to a chatbot or filling in an online application online.
So I like that you mentioned the particular idea around deeper sentiment analysis as well as understanding human emotion that come through the forms of nonverbal communication, because that's something that can't right now be programmed into existing AI that is highly developed in terms of machine learning or automation. I think around the world we're seeing that, and from studies shown through McKinsey or the Brookings Institute, which are leading research in terms of the future of work, we know that by 2030, at least 315 million jobs will be given away to AI in the form of automation. That's something that we know already. But if you're talking about actual physical sentiment, human sentiment that comes through a feeling of emotion, things that can't, subtle nuances that can't be programmed, that's still some way away. We can have heightened automation where I can ask a question and get an answer based on physical, practical knowledge that a machine is trained because of the amount of data that they're given. But again, this is why humans and AI will work alongside each other, because the human ability to feel and that emotive side still needs to come from a human being.
We're speaking to Nazareen Ebrahim, who is CEO of Socially Acceptable, a fascinating conversation regarding artificial intelligence and how it could take over the workspace in the coming years. But we're not really talking about the coming years. We're not talking about a Asimov science fiction novel of happening somewhere in the middle to distant future. This is happening now.
Absolutely, it's happening now. Lester, I love that we're having this conversation, because in writing the 12-part AI series, it came about when I attended the 2018 Web Summit in Portugal. And the main theme, the golden thread that tied the entire summit together, the 3.5-day summit, was artificial intelligence. From the UN Secretary General's address on why technology matters for humanity right now, to Lisa Jackson, who heads up environmental issues at Apple, talking about AI as a defining factor for humanity. It was really evident that if the general public don't understand it now, we know it's at work in our spaces and in our consumer lives daily. We know that.
Nazareen, besides talk shows and radio shows and news programs like this, it seems as if every second speech that comes out the mouth of a government minister speaks of what is known as this fourth industrial revolution, and we're talking about it and we're writing it in our news pieces, but do we actually know of how on the cusp we are of a rapidly changing world, which could leave, as you said, 315 million people out of jobs globally just because of artificial intelligence?
And I like that we're talking about this, and it points directly, for me as a researcher and with a keen interest and deep insight into media communications, it links directly back to humanity itself. AI is but another step in our evolving nature as humans and the future of work. If we look at the other industrial revolutions that we've had, they brought about key changes that directed us as humans in how we work and learn. The fourth industrial revolution simply means that technology is now the key driver and key change maker in things we do. However, it is important, it is so vital for us to understand that humanity is at the heart of all of that. If we use the technology, it's simply a layer to enable us to do things quicker, better, faster, and obviously for big business to save money. But for humans overall, what does it teach us about how we've come through every industrial revolution? And so the fourth industrial revolution is understanding our role as humans in the age of technology, but also understanding what responsibility we have, because now more than ever, through the use of social media and other technologies that we have that enable us as consumers and human beings, we have a bigger responsibility than we had before, and also a different way of learning. I do believe that, a different way of learning and problem solving.
Now, on that question, I'm going to want to finish this conversation by asking about learning. This morning I saw an interesting television news story about a school in Cape Town that has robotics and coding as part of its curriculum. It's a Kuro school, which is, of course, a private school. But how important then is for coding, robotics, writing codes and algorithms? How important is that going to be to prepare the majority of young people for a world of AI in the fourth industrial revolution?
Thank you for asking this question, and it needs to be asked again and again so that we have the conversation and it evolves continually until a mindset change is in order and shifts currently. It's important. Skills such as coding, robotics, understanding the technologies, and being able to play in the tech space is highly critical. Why? Because as we move deeper into the fourth industrial revolution, we understand it in the global context alongside things like the Sustainable Development Goals by the UN, which is why these kind of skills are being pushed, which is why the United Nations and the World Economic Forum at Davos termed the fourth industrial revolution, because it's necessary for our kids to understand that the way we learned 20 years ago, or we understood subjects in a certain manner just to equip us for an industrial revolution, not a fourth industrial revolution, which is comprised of tech. It's necessary to understand the way we learn. Like Sir Ken Robinson said in his extremely insightful and very popular TED Talk, talked about the way we learn and what it is about our cognitive ability as humans to understand our skill sets and the way we are trained. Currently, our education system is more focused on the standardization of human intellect. I don't think that human intellect can be standardized. I'm sure that you feel the same way, but learning through tech gives us an ability to be able to develop our thinking ability, creative thinking ability in a different way. And I think that's going to think critically and to produce solutions that actively serve humanity, not just for the novelty of it, but actually serve humanity.
Fascinating conversation with Nazareen Ebrahim, who is the CEO of Socially Acceptable, a media company that specializes in social media and tech, talking to us about the future of artificial intelligence and how exactly it's going to affect you and me, in not in the next few decades, but in the next few years, and whether we, particularly as a nation, is prepared for that.
You're with Cape Talk. This is Leicester.